So you know how the UK is a terrible place, and it seems like every single week we're talking about bad news? Between Florida and the UK, there's always some horrible place pumping out terrible news, right? And so today, the terrible news out of the UK is Justice Secretary Dominic Raab has stated that the UK government will no longer house trans women who, quote, have male genitalia or who have been convicted of a sexual offense in women's prisons. This conflates two categories which have no connection to one another. The update posted late on Wednesday night, 25th January, included the amendment, quote, unless there are exceptional circumstances. However, no detail has been provided yet on what those circumstances would entail. Raab described the development as, quote, further common sense changes. Grassroots campaigners like Trans Activism UK said, quote, this change will likely have the most negative impact on trans sex workers and those vulnerable to being arrested for sex offenses which do not center on assault. So this is very shit. And the reason that it's very shit is that, like, this has a potential to hit to, so first of all, having male genitalia does not make you a sex offender, but the threat of male genitalia on its own means that you can't be in a women's prison. And then separately, if you've ever been convicted of a sexual offense, okay? I don't know if you realize this, but sex work is a sexual offense. So let's say you live in the UK. Let's say you're a trans woman who lives in the UK and you've been having a really hard time getting access to hormones and bottom surgery. Like, you for sure, you want to have bottom surgery. You want to have your penis removed and have a vagina installed instead, but you're on the wait list trying to get just hormones, just trying to get your gender dysphoria diagnosis. Let's say you've already been on the list for 2 years waiting for your first appointment at the gender clinic, and it's still 3 years out. Like, that's the estimated time that you're going to get your appointment is 3 years from now. So let's say the suffering is too great and you're having a difficult time functioning because you have extreme gender dysphoria. Let's say you are having a hard time keeping a job because you want to dress like a woman and you look like a trans woman, very obviously, so you can't keep a regular job. You end up doing sex work because it doesn't matter whether you look trans or not. Like, the place that hires folks to work in the front, they don't want a trans person being the front face of their shop or whatever. Like, if you're trans, usually you're going to end up working like retail or some bullshit like that because that's what's accessible to you if your parents kicked you out and you couldn't go to college, etc. Like, these things all compound against each other, right? So you're a trans woman who starts doing sex work because she can't get regular work because she doesn't pass, and you need hormones. And so you need money to get hormones online because it's legal in the UK for you to get hormones online. So yeah, you start doing sex work so that you can get hormones while you wait on the NHS list to get admitted and start the process of transitioning legally according to the NHS process. So you still have your male genitalia because the UK's National Health Service is taking a really long time getting you even onboarded in the first place, much less scheduling you for surgery. So you start doing sex work and then you get arrested because you were out on the street, doing sex work. And then you get put in prison for a sexual offense, and because you conducted a sexual offense, like, even though it wasn't violent toward anyone, you were doing survival sex work because you couldn't get any other jobs, because you needed to access hormones. You needed to access hormones in the first place in order to pass to get a regular job. So you had to get a shitty job in order to get the hormones so that you could then pass enough to get a regular job. Like, it's a vicious cycle. So instead, you get put in a men's prison, which effectively, this means that the effective punishment for any trans woman who is pre-op or has been convicted of a sexual offense, basically what the government is saying the appropriate punishment for you is to be raped in prison. If you don't think that trans women are at a higher risk of being raped in a men's prison than they would be in a women's prison, like, here's the thing. Trans women are more likely to be raped in a men's prison than they are to rape someone in a women's prison. If you're a trans woman who hasn't had surgery yet and you go to prison for any reason, we sentence you to serial rape. And there's just no sugarcoating that. UK is a terrible place to live. Turf Island, get the fuck out of there. It's like the UK government is trying to kill trans women. Yeah, weird that. It's strange. Putting a femme trans woman in prison is, 100% guaranteeing they will be raped. It's cruel and unusual punishment. It's literal torture. Additionally, it's a whole separate issue, but yes, the trans women will rape the female inmates thing is really annoying because these people never care about male prison guards in women's prisons. Right. Natalie Wynn talked about this in a video where she was saying that like cis women in prisons will trade sexual favors for things from the guards. Like a girl will perform oral sex on a prison guard and then he'll bring her like makeup or something like that. Like women want makeup enough in prison that they will do sexual favors and like be sexually exploited by the prison guards for things. Yeah, exactly. Who the do you think rapes women in prison? The trans women behind the bars or the men with batons and institutional power? It's also not as though there isn't rape between cis women in prisons. Yeah, sex work being illegal is such a strange concept if you think about it for more than 5 seconds. I mean, it's pretty easy if you just consider that it's a rule made by puritanical Christians who want to like forcibly impose their ideology on you and force you to live according to their morals. Oh yeah, when I was in jail briefly a couple years back, they were nice enough to segregate me from both men and women. Yeah, we love solitary confinement. Isn't that great? Thank you so much for watching, and especially thank you to my patrons. I want to shout out some in particular. We got Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvag, Jovian F. Gaudreau, Bean, Amanda B., Danielle McDonald, Sarah A., R. Halverson, Wellington Marcus, Athiet, Michelle Winter, Nova, Suzanne Maynard, Elizabeth Bartell, Kevin Young, Sojo, and Mr. Atheist.